December 16th, 2025. We'll start the meeting by standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 3 on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments, additions, or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item 4 is an invitation for a citizen to schedule time on a commission agenda for an item not listed. There's a 5-minute time limit per person. Anyone wanting to speak during this agenda item must sign in prior to the start of the meeting. No commission action will be taken during this agenda item. Any requested action item may be scheduled for a future meeting. We have nobody signed in this morning, so we move on to item number 5 is consent agenda items, which includes the minutes, travel and education requests, personnel action notices, cellular authorizations, human services report. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any comments? Hearing none, call the roll.
Vanderwall,
Aye.
Post,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Hostler,
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item 6 is routine business. Approval of the claims. Do I have a motion to approve the claims?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any comments?
There was one additional claim that was added. I handed that out this morning. I believe it was for extension, had an additional one that got added in late.
Okay. Any questions? Hearing none, call the roll.
Post,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Hostler,
Aye.
Vanderwall,
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Department head reports. Start with Brian from the Highway Department.
Morning.
Morning.
Well, Mother Nature has been throwing us curveballs left and right, but I think we're overall maybe going to get ahead of it with this nice weather that we've gotten this week. Our gravel roads, like I was speaking with the sheriff, are a little icier in spots than our paved roads, and we hope to get them kind of taken care of today. And speaking with Chairperson Jensen this morning, we are going to be addressing some of those township roads that lead up to our county roads as far as the intersections go, but overall I think we're staying ahead of it, or at least get ahead of it here the next couple of days with the warm weather. That's pretty much what we've been working on. Is there any other questions?
Brian, just one question. Salt availability, that doesn't seem to be a problem. I mean, we're early here, of course, but.
So far, it hasn't been. You know, we do purchase salt off the state contract, and what that means for us is that we're second in line behind the state. But we've had orders in earlier on this season. We do have 4 orders in right now. We're awaiting those for arrival, but haven't had any issues so far.
Have we kind of had some interesting melting, catching snow patterns and stuff? Because I've noticed that.
Well, the one particular intersection I think you're referring to, Doug, is the intersection south of Volga on County Road 12 and County Road 5, the Sinai Road. I think we doubled up there, and I kind of stressed the communication with the guys there that we need to communicate as our routes meet together. That is one spot they met together, and that was kind of really the only issue we had in the county as far as sifting snow. And I think that's what happened is we had too much salt on that intersection, and then the snow stuck.
Yeah, 'cause it just seems strange that everything was clear and then all of a sudden this intersection was.
Well, my foreman went out and looked at it. He's like, almost like somebody dumped a load of snow there, but that's, the salt stuck down and then the, just kept accumulating as
kept
the snow
catching
was
it.
sifting. But, that has been addressed with the crew to make sure we communicate so we're not overlapping each other.
Yeah, yeah, thanks, it was taken care of right away.
So,
Any other comments? Thank you.
thanks.
Thanks, Brian.
Marty from Sheriff's Office?
Good morning.
Morning, Sheriff.
Morning.
I'll just do a quick overview of the jail. We're still in the low numbers, 38 presently in detention. And we have still 11 U.S. Marshal inmates, 4 from Moody County and 2 from Kingsbury County at the present time. And also the numbers are down in the 24/7 area with 86, and this is all good stuff. You know, when you have, it means that things are going pretty well, and it's not been that low in 24/7 in a long time or in the jail. So that's, I think those are good signs, so I hope that stays that way. Other than that, unless you have some questions concerning the jail. Also, we're continuing to stay busy. You know, the last snow events or whatever has been pretty good. A lot of times it's on the weekend where we get most of it, and for some reason we have less accidents and things when it's on a weekend, because I think people aren't, I've talked about that before, that they're not as much in a hurry and so forth. And the roads were pretty good. And I don't know if, Brian, if you mentioned that the gravel roads were the tough ones, were the slippery ones. When we had some slide-ins and in some intersection accidents, it was on a gravel road where they were losing control and stuff, going a little too fast on gravel. Also, we continue to work stop signs. I'll just tell you a quick incident that happened on Friday, is that we got a call from an individual at our intersection at 204 and 471 in Highway 30 there, said that a caravan went through and everybody ran the stop sign, and that they were headed east on 30, going towards White. I had a deputy in White at my school resource deputy, and he was able to get everybody, I don't know how he did it, but he got everybody stopped. And they all stopped, and then I sent a deputy to look at our camera that we got set up, and to verify everybody went through the stop sign. So the convoy had a lead truck, or had a lead, you know, like they do, that you normally see on the interstate and so forth. He ran the stop sign, and then everybody followed him. There was two electric trucks that were with the group because they had 2 semis that had a high load, so in case they came across and had to move high lines and stuff. So they were carrying 2 semis were carrying generators. They didn't even slow down at that intersection to go through and stuff. We did cite everyone at cited 5 there. So I don't know how to get the word out. It's blatant. And so my deputy asked one of the truck drivers, how about the other 2 sets? Because they came from T, they come down 81, and then they came down 6, or 204. And asked the semi driver, how about the other 2 sets of 4-way stop signs? And he goes, I don't recall those. I don't know what more we can do. You know, I'm thinking that we should have maybe the by Bruce we should put up, because that's my second highest complaint, is the Bruce 4-way. But everybody that's been running them has been running where my flashing light is. You know, so, but they're still better than nothing, but it's just blatant out there, and someone's going to get killed again. And the lady that stayed gave us statements. You know, she had to stop on 471 because she had the right of way, but she could tell that they weren't going to stop, so she stopped and then followed them until my deputy got them stopped and so on. So I just trying to get out is this, we gotta, somehow, the drivers gotta start stopping at stop signs. So it's, right now, that's a priority with my department, and we're busy enough going on, but trying to work those stop sign offenses, so. Anyway, any questions? I'll get off my soapbox now. Someone's gonna get killed. They're just blatantly running stop signs, not even with disregard. We've threatened them with jail. Of course, these all came out of town. And some have run that stop sign that are Brookings County and Esteline, and so it's not all out of town. It's local too, so.
Yeah, and
Anyway.
I agree with you, Marty. Like I said, I go through that intersection sometimes numerous times a day, and I always slow way down at that intersection because they just blatantly just run right through it.
Yeah.
So,
Anyway, so, unless you guys have any other questions, we stay busy. Like I said, the highway department's been really good to work with sand and that type of stuff, so we're all trying to keep the roads safe for everybody, so, anyway.
yeah. Brian, do you know what the status is of the rumble strips up there? Coming from the west?
I know, Marty, you attended the DOT meeting, and I had two of my guys attend that meeting also, but they were in the process of when they had time to get them put in.
Yeah. I don't have a time frame. They talked about it at the DOT meeting, but I don't have a time frame.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thanks, Sheriff.
Marty?
Lori from Finance?
My items will be coming up later in the meeting, at the end of the meeting with the election agreement and end-of-year pay period discussion.
Okay. Bob from Community Development?
I put everything in my staff report. One thing, I also added a form that I picked up when I went to the fall board meeting that shows what Brookings County participates in with the National Association of Counties. And if you notice, we participate in 2 of the programs, and they've got other programs that the commission is welcome to look at. Some counties in South Dakota each county that was there got their own separate sheet. And various counties in South Dakota do various things, but it's something that we're looking at. And also, National Association of Counties has a website that you can go on and actually get some real good numbers from that I would encourage the board to take a look at. Other than that, we'd have an emergency management exercise with the United Living community on Thursday. I didn't put in my staff report, but we've had good support from the Brookings Register and the Brookings Radio on getting my emergency management message out. I concentrate mainly on weather events, but when other emergency management topics come up, I am able to shift to meet the needs of the community, and we appreciate the support that the community gives us. Any questions?
Any questions for Bob?
Bob, I just had one question. As I was going through the budget, for the yearly budget, I see there was $14,000 for disaster response. What was that for?
14,000. Part of that was their pre-disaster mitigation plan. We submit the claim. $6,000 of that went to the pre-disaster mitigation claim, and then we'll submit that paperwork to PEER and get that reimbursed to us, so we can put that back in the general fund. And for right now, I couldn't tell you what the other 8,000 was, but I can get that to you.
Were you talking about the claims? Was that the claim for First District?
On the budget, I saw there was for emergency management, the budget is $50,000 and $14,000 had been spent under that.
What was
line
the
item.
claim for First District for
That
the?
was 6,000
That
of
was
that.
6,000, okay.
And then typically anything like on the EOC trailer and anything related to response, some of it could be water that I buy when I go out to disaster scenes, and That's not a fund that we use easily.
All right.
But I can do some more detail and get you an email with the information.
Okay, I think that's
Very
it.
good.
Thank you. Sonia from 4-H. I believe we have some documents from you also.
Oh, thank you.
Good morning. I provided you with a report, but I have a little sticky here of some things that weren't included that I thought I would highlight this morning. We have 6 Christmas trees on display at the Outdoor Adventure Center by our 4-H clubs that make the concourse very festive. They've all kind of got their own theme, some that fit their club, others was a club project. They made an ornament, whatever, but they look real nice out there and will be set up through the end of the month into early January. Last year and the year before that, we ran a program called Food Fund 4-H, and I know I've highlighted that with you, and I've also indicated that our group of 6 4-H educators that kind of represent the Northeast area have been working on our own version of that in a curriculum development that models that program, where it's an at-home cooking program designed for youth to do with families. And we have rebranded that for South Dakota. It's called 4-H Flavorful, and our first issue of that was released the early part of December, is available on our on the extension website and being distributed through different means. I do have some kids that have signed up for it, so I'll provide them with some copies if they submit a report at the end of the time frame. Then they get a little kitchen gadget or some little tool device to use within the kitchen. We've taken a little different twist on it and are featuring one food group a month instead of a whole meal's worth of recipes, so that families can incorporate one or more than one of those recipes into a menu for the day or throughout the day, but they're not designed to all be served at once. So this first month was vegetables, and there's consecutive months will represent the remaining food groups, but there's a recipe that fits for a morning meal, a noon meal, an evening meal, and then a snack. And also some tools for them to build menus so they can incorporate that recipe into whatever they might be planning to serve for the day. Our 4-H clubs and members completed delivering just shy of 9,200 phone books for Swiftel Communications throughout the city of Brookings, Volga, Elkton, and Aurora. So that's a nice fundraiser for the 4-H leaders and the clubs to collect on. And we're able to get that done before the snow started flying and the temperatures were mild and comfortable. We had a shooting sports training at the BCOAC this last weekend for instructors. There was just about 40 instructors present for training in maybe a discipline for the first time or an additional discipline to their resume. I had about 10 new instructors and those looking to add a discipline to their portfolio. So we'll get started with our 4-H shooting sports the Tuesday following New Year's and have schedules again that fill up the calendar Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So we will be busy once the shooting sports season gets started in January. I will be collaborating with a colleague from Dual County and implementing the Chicks in the Classroom program in the Dubrook Elementary. It's a program based on chicks hatching in the classroom and spans the about 25-ish, 28 days. So there's 5 lessons involved with that based on a certain day, so not necessarily every Tuesday for 4 weeks, but day 3, day 15, day 20, whatever that guideline is, so that the lesson matches up with kind of the stage or the process of the incubation, including the final lesson which features hatching, and by that time, the chicks should have hatched in the classroom, and shortly thereafter, those chicks find a home and go bye-bye out of the classroom. That's not my job to line up a home for those, but that's something new for me, and Deb out of Dual County has the equipment to foster that education and an incubator and stuff. So I'm gonna tag up with her so I can experience that educational program and see what it all entails. I'm not much into chickens, I guess, so this will be a learning experience for me as well. Our 4-H year is currently 3 months in, and we have a nice number already for enrollment and re-enrollments for this year. Of course, I've said before, shooting sports registration really helps those kids get their re-enrollments or enrollments done so that they can get registered for the program. But the rest of that information that is provided in the document, I'm willing to take any questions if you have. Otherwise, I'd...
Sonia, with your shooting sports instructor training, do you have enough shooting instructors to accommodate the shooting sports youth?
We are going to have a nice set of instructors. There are some areas where earlier this planning season, September, October, we felt maybe a little light, but I think that we've recruited several new instructors and have placed them in a discipline that they're willing to be a coach for. And also, these are just some of the best people. That their kids are going to do these 2 or 3 disciplines, for example. They're always very willing to sit across the table and say, where am I most needed? Where do you need the most help? And so we do have some new instructors certified for pistol. Air pistol specifically is one that this year was going to need some support, and with that individual getting trained and the others that we have, that will help in that area for sure. Have a nice group, actually quite large, for our BB gun, air rifle, and archery disciplines, but we need that many to cover the number of lines. But we are looking to be supported nicely by volunteers.
Okay.
Any other questions for me this
Other
morning?
questions?
Well, thank you very much.
Thank
You
you.
for your support. Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Sonia. Merry Christmas to you.
Okay, move on to item C is Finance Officer Report, some documents and be it noted items, auditor's account with the treasurer, payroll and additive totals, highway expenditure report, register of deed statement of fees collected. Item 2 is an action to approve the fourth quarter general fund transfers as per budget appropriations. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any comments? Any comments from finance? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carried. Item A is from General Fund 101-4-911-4294 to Highway Road and Bridge Fund 201-3-371-0000 in the amount of $899,906.75. And from the General Fund 101-4-911-4290 to Emergency Management Fund 226-3-371-0000 in the amount of $33,628.75. Moving on, it is, we do have some scheduled agenda items at 9 o'clock. It's not quite 9, so we'll move on to regular business. Item A is an action to approve resolution number 25-61, a plat of track 1 of Gruen addition and addition in the southeast quarter of section 28, township 112 north, range 52 west of the 5th principal meridian, Brookings County, South Dakota. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
A motion second. Any comments?
We heard this at our December planning and zoning meeting. It was approved unanimously and sent to this board with the recommendation that you approve it.
Okay, any question or comments? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Miller.
Aye.
Hostler.
Aye.
Vanderwall.
Aye.
Post.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item B, action approve resolution number 25-62, a plat of tracks 1, 2, and 3 of Robbins Addition in Section 25, Township 111 North, Range 49 West of the 5th Principal Meridian, Brookings County, South Dakota. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
A motion second, comments?
We heard this in the December Planning and Zoning meeting, approved unanimously, and sent to this board as a recommendation that you approve it.
Okay. Any questions? Additional comments? Call the roll.
Hostler.
Aye.
Vanderwall.
Aye.
Post.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item C, action approve resolution number 25-63, a plat of lots 2A, 3C, 4A, and 5 of Porter Addition located in the north half of the northwest quarter of Section 13, Township 109 North, Range 50 West of the 5th Principal Meridian, in Brookings County, South Dakota. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
A motion second, comments?
We heard this in the December Planning and Zoning meetings, approved unanimously, and sent to this board with a recommendation that you approve it.
Okay. Call the roll, please.
Vanderwall.
Aye.
Post.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Hostler.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item D, action to approve resolution number 25-64, a plat of Lot 11 of Turtle Bay Addition located in the south half of Government Lot 1 in the northeast quarter of Section 29, Township 109 North, Range 50 West of the 5th Principal Meridian, and in a portion of the northeast quarter of the southeast quarter of Section 29, Township 109 North, Range 50 West of the 5th Principal Meridian, and a portion of Government Lot 2 in the southwest quarter of Section 28, Township 109 North, Range 50 West of the 5th Principal Meridian, all in Brookings County, South Dakota. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
A motion second, comments?
We heard this in the December Planning and Zoning meeting, passed unanimously, and sent to this board with a recommendation that you approve it.
Okay. Call the roll, please.
Post.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Hostler.
Aye.
Vanderwall.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item E, action approve resolution number 25-65, a resolution approving annexation of territories by the city of Brookings. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion second, any comments? Bob, you have any input here on?
Yes, this is the property down on the new interchange, 20th Street South and in the interstate. The property in discussion is what's known as the old church. Used to be a wedding chapel type church thing back in there. And it was zoned residential in the joint jurisdiction area. So now and it is contiguous to the city of Brookings. So now they want to bring it into the city limits, and that's what spurred the annexation request.
Okay.
It wasn't previously in city limits?
No, that portion had always been left out into the county. It was joint jurisdiction, but county agricultural district.
Okay.
So, which meant it was not in the city limits.
Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome.
Any further comments?
But just for reference, I haven't, as far as I know, I haven't been part of an annexation before. Is this, or at least not with Brookings, what happens with the property tax situation then? Do the city just adds their chunk onto it and we're still the same, or how does that work?
I'm sorry, I have no idea on that one.
I would, yeah, I mean, with this, I would assume that it would go through the process of getting reassigned then to be part of the city and then start being responsible for city tax as well. So it all goes through kind of a process. Once it gets through here and actually gets annexed, then I think equalization is notified and Register of Deeds is notified. So yeah, then all of the changes are made. So.
Okay, any other comments? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Miller.
Aye.
Hostler.
Aye.
Vanderwall.
Aye.
Post.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, it is 9 o'clock. Move on to scheduled agenda items. Item A is a public hearing in action to approve resolution number 25-60, a supplemental budget resolution. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. I now open the public meeting. Any proponents who would like to speak to this item? Any proponents that would like to speak to this item? Any opponents? Any opponents who would like to speak to this item? I now close the public hearing. Entertain any comments from the board or staff.
These are all sort of cleanup things that we need to do to make sure that we're not in a negative balance in any of these funds here coming up on year end. The 101 for the beta, the fund balance or transfers out to county building, that was part of the pay for the beta building. You'll see some more of that, I believe, coming up here a little bit later. The rest of that to unassign some of those funds. The highway is just the wheel tax is sort of a separate line in the highway budget. It's not anything that Brian's responsible for. This is just kind of money in, money out, but we didn't have enough money budgeted for the apportioning that goes out. So we needed some additional dollars there. 911 remittance fund, that's the 207 that you see there. This is just, again, to cover additional dollars received and paid out. This is the surcharge fees that everything that comes in turns around and gets sent right back out to our E911, to our dispatch. So that is to cover just some additional, we got more revenue in than that we had budgeted for. The opioid settlement fund 252, same thing, that's just to cover some expenditures there. You'll also be seeing here coming up later on the agenda an automatic supplement for that. And then finally, the jail debt service. This is just fiscal agent funds. We needed another $600 there. $600 comes out twice a year, and it was only budgeted for coming out one time a year. So that's all with those. Do you have any questions on any of those? A lot of it's just kind of money in, money out, until we just got more money in than we had to apportion out for most of it. So.
Okay. Any comments from the board? Okay, hearing none, call the roll, please.
Hostler. Vanderwall.
Aye.
Post.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item B, public hearing and action to approve the transfer of a retail on-sale liquor license to CC&F Retail Incorporated. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. I would now open the public hearing. Any proponents that would like to speak to this item? Any proponents that would like to speak to this item? Hearing none. Any opponents that would like to speak to this item? Any opponents that would like to speak to this item? I would now close the public hearing. Entertain any comments from the board or staff.
The only comment that I have, Jenna Baker in the finance office, just a little background on this. CC&F Retail Inc., I believe purchased already Skyview Junction over there in Elkton. And so because of that, we need to transfer the alcohol licenses over to the new business. With this, there is a $150 transfer fee, which all stays with the county. And then the publication was noticed in all of the legal newspapers. So our office would recommend approval.
Thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Vanderwall.
Aye.
Post.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Hostler.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item C is a public hearing and action to approve the transfer of a retail on-off sale malt beverage and South Dakota farm wine license to CC&F Retail Incorporated. Now, the motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. I now open the public hearing. Any proponents that would like to speak to this item? Any proponents that would like to speak to this item? Any opponents that would like to speak to this item? Any opponents? Hearing none, I close the public hearing. Entertain any comments from the board or staff.
Again, Jenna Baker from the Finance Office. The only comment that I would have is similar to item B. The Skyview Junction currently holds the retail on-off sale malt beverage license, but because they've sold it to this new entity, we need to transfer that license over to them. We collected a $150 transfer fee, and the notice was published in all of the newspapers. Our office does recommend approval.
Okay. Any other comments?
Jen, this was this is the Skyview Junction again?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, Skyview Junction currently holds a on-sale liquor license and an on-sale, off-sale malt beverage license. Because they've sold the business to a new entity, those two licenses need to be transferred over to the new business to reflect that purchase. And if you scroll down, I believe, Stacy, if you can scroll down just a little bit, you can see there is an affidavit of the transfer right there that shows that Skyview Junction has sold it to that business.
Confusing when it says South Dakota farm wine license, where it's a different.
It's the same thing.
There are three different licenses
Three different.
that Skyview Junction held. They're transferring all three licenses to the new entity.
Yep.
Yeah, there's three different types. So the first one you approved was the on-sale liquor. The next one is on-off sale malt beverage and South Dakota farm wine. It's a combined license. And then the next one, as you can see, item D also relates to the same two businesses, another transfer for another off-sale liquor license. So
Got it.
just
Thank
three
you.
different licenses that we have to do all three public hearings for.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Any further comments? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Post.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Hostler.
Aye.
Vanderwall.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item D, public hearing and action to approve a retail package off-sale liquor license to CC&F Retail Incorporated. Do I have motion approved?
So moved.
Second.
I have motion is second. I'll now open the public hearing. Any proponents that would like to speak to this item? Any proponents that would like to speak to this item? Any opponents that would like to speak to this item? Any opponents that would like to speak to this item? I would now close the public hearing. Entertain any comments from the board or the staff.
Again, the only comment that I would have, again, Jenna Baker in the Finance Office. So if you recall, November 4th, Skyview Junction was in here to apply for the retail package off sale, and the commission approved that. We sent it off to the Department of Revenue. And then with talking to the Department of Revenue, once we knew, we were aware of the sale going on, because we were aware of the sale after the board approved the package off-sale license for Skyview. We thought, with the Department of Revenue, we thought it would be cleaner because they hadn't even received Skyview's application yet. That's just what the postal is going on right now. They haven't even received that application. And to keep things cleaner, it was advised that they're just, because Skyview is getting rid of the business, that this entity, CC&F Retail, apply for their own. Because again, they hadn't even received the application, so there's nothing to transfer because it wasn't even approved yet. So basically, the Department of Revenue is not going to do anything for Skyview Junction, but CCNF Retail is going to apply for their own new license for the package off sale. This is a $500 package off sale fee. It will begin January 1 of 2026 and go through the end of the year. If approved, Brookings County would still have 4 remaining off-sale liquor licenses to issue.
Jen, I assume CCNF meets all the requirements for this
Yes.
off-sale liquor.
Yep.
Any other comments, questions? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Miller?
Aye.
Hostler?
Aye.
Vanderwall?
Aye.
Post?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, item E. Colin Schwaska from Banner and Associates, discussion on bridge inspections and bid-ready proposals with regards to future big grant applications. You come forward.
Good morning. I'm Colin Zwosk with Banner Associates here in Brookings. I'm here today just to give a brief update on the 2025 bridge inspections that were completed this fall. And really it's more to give you guys an opportunity to ask questions about the bridges themselves. So this year I inspected a total of 21 structures, plus an additional 9 structures that are under 20 feet. These are all structures east of I-29, plus a few that are on an annual cycle on the west side. Total is 6 of those. Also in there was 3 initial inspections for structures that were replaced this year, plus 1 structure that was replaced last year. In my inspection findings, we didn't post any new structures this year. There was 1 structure that we reduced the load posting on just due to continued deterioration of the timber or substructure, and we thought it was more or prudent to at least prolong the life of the structure for passenger vehicles. It's going to restrict heavier trucks, but that's just the way it is. That structure is located south of Brookings, and I believe the commission did approve a resolution to apply for a big grant this year for that structure, so we will be applying to replace it. Based on previous year's scores, it would secure a grant. However, I don't know how this year's going to go with, it's hard to read what the scores are going to be or what score is going to be required in order to receive a grant. Other things observed, steel girder bridges with concrete decks, the older vintage that were built in the 30s, 40s, 50s. They're deteriorating quickly. There's a few of them that we are in the process of replacing. There's a few more that we have done studies on, and a few more that we have submitted applications to do hydraulic studies on, but haven't been awarded grants. But that is a main focus of where we're trying to work towards replacing these structures. Other issues I see, like the structure south of town, it's the timber structures, timber piles tend to decay over time, and the timber bent caps. You know, the options to rehab them are there. However, the options to rehab them are also probably as expensive as replacing them, so it's not usually a viable option, but we do consider what we can do to prolong them as long as we can. This year and later in this meeting, you'll see proposals for design services for 3 structures to prepare them for a bid-ready bridge improvement grant applications for next year, meaning we would do the design, prepare the plans, and get everything in line, and then next December, we would submit applications to the DOT to replace them. Doing the bid-ready package buys you essentially 10 more points in the rating or the bridge rating, and that's pretty beneficial. The only other way to buy points is to increase your share of the cost. So currently the minimum is 20% share on the county, 80% from the DOT. If you bump that up all the way to 50/50, you only get 10 points. So paying to do the design ahead of time is a much cheaper option. Now, there's no guarantee that those 10 points are going to be enough to secure a grant the following year, so there's always the option to increase your share and contribute more points that way as well. I believe that's really all I have for you. Do you have any questions for me?
Is there a way to identify, I mean, just with the scoring process and with the state funds, there's no way to speed up these bridges so that we can have them on the replacement schedule before they restrict commerce in the county as far as load limits?
Money, more money is be the way. I mean, it's not, they're not cheap, and in the process, especially going through the DOT, it can be, I don't want to say tedious, but you have to follow all their steps and all their rules. So the first step is the hydraulics and making sure that your new proposed structure or proposed options that are viable and aren't going to create problems with the water surface elevations for the upstream and downstream landowners. And then after that, we move into design, and it does take time. I don't think I'm answering your question here. I kind of got off on a tangent there. Really, and one issue I see here with funding is several years ago when the DOT established the Bridge Improvement Grant Fund, they set aside $15 million for these grants. Well, that was 10 years ago, and that fund is still the same amount. It doesn't go as far as it went 10 years ago. You know, there were several years where the federal government contributed additional dollars for local federal bridge programs that we saw big or much larger funds, grant funds awarded, but that has gone away the last couple of years, and there may be more federal dollars coming, we don't know. But with that 15 million not increasing, it's not indexed to inflation or anything, so it doesn't go as far as it used to. It's much more competitive because Brookings County isn't the only county with structures. There are many other counties that also need to replace their structures, and people are realizing that this is, you know, going bid ready is how you do it. So the minimum threshold for points increases every year. Yeah, the only way to stay ahead of it, well, hopefully we get caught up at some point, and then we can, you know, stay ahead. But there's many structures that were built just kind of put together in the 30s, 40s, 50s that weren't necessarily designed, but labor was cheap back then, and now those are all coming due.
So, I mean, at the current pace of what state funding will afford for us, we're going to keep falling behind on bridges if we don't start upping the ante as far as the county contribution.
Yeah, that's probably not an untrue statement, and I don't know if the DOT has been looking into ways to increase that 15 million. I don't know.
That's kind of a question I had, how the current funding with the DOT, I'm sure it's not getting any better. Are there timber structures out there that possibly could be replaced with corrugated metal pipe that we should look at on some of the, you know, not the highly traveled, basically secondary roads?
That may be an option. Hydraulically, you're never going to make it work really or real well, just because you put a pipe under a road where you had a larger opening. It's going to raise the water surface elevation, so that would probably require some sort of agreement with the landowners that they're going to agree that this is going to have this effect. The roadway is likely going to overtop more frequently. I mean, it's always an option, but
That's what I was wondering what was out there that, if there was areas that could be done.
I think a lot of the ones that could be done were done in the past. You know,
Okay.
Not to say you couldn't do more, but I also don't know what type of environmental impacts doing that would have, and doing it the correct way and obtaining your core permit, it may present some challenges as well.
It would all depend on the type of road and the access needed.
Yeah.
In some of those areas, some of those bridges basically makes access impossible. Where if you had the corrugated metal pipe, you would at least have access there, and you might have to, like you said, replace some gravel. But you would have access to the properties. Something just to look at, I guess. Any other comments from the board, or?
Colin, maybe you've given that to us already, or maybe this is a Brian question, but do we have like a list of the bridges that you've done inspections on the eastern side? Could you get that to us? Or maybe we've already gotten that.
I don't believe I presented anything. I have provided Brian all the reports.
But just something like a 2-page deal, is that something you could do, Brian?
Just the list is all you'd want. That'd be easy enough, so.
Yes.
Just to help us get our heads wrapped around it.
I think, Brian, when we receive bridge inspections, don't we have access online to the bridges?
Yes.
Is that under the highway?
Web.
On the highway web, the bridge inspections are on there.
Thank you. I'll look into that.
Any other questions for?
Colin, did you want to kind of touch on them 3 proposals?
Yeah, I can touch on those right now. I think coming up in the agenda here, you'll see those 3 proposals. The 3 structures that we are proposing would be structure 06-153
Just have it on now to kind of give kind of a high-level overview to the commission.
Oh, so those aren't on the agenda?
If you could focus in on Colin's sheet there, Stacy. No, like the camera.
This one here, Brian?
Correct.
Okay, so we are proposing to move forward with bid-ready review plans for 3 structures next year. The 3 structures are 06-153-200, that's on County Road 12, southwest of town, just about a half mile east of County Road 19, the Country Club Road there. The other one is 06-248-040 up on County Road 44, northeast of White. That's the one down in the valley on the road that's on the S-curve or the curve down there. And then the third one would be 06-320-235. That is on County Road 35, south of Elkton. And these are all structures that we have done preliminary engineering studies on in the past. All 3 of them are proposed to be cast in place box culverts. So my base cost I was kind of coming up with is about $72,000 to do the design or the engineering plans, obtain environmental permits, and get everything ready for submitting for the DOT review and eventual bidding. A couple of them or one is skewed, so that takes a little extra work on our end. There's a few other things in there that cost, a couple of those costs be a little more just because it's going to take some more work on our end from the permitting side as well.
So I think this is kind of what Doug was looking for. These are structures that are in the program. If we do this additional engineering work, they'd be presented to the state as bid ready then, correct?
Yes, that would be, yes, next year. I can't really see all that on there. I did kind of do a little comparison, and my printout doesn't have it all, so, but the going bid ready on these structures is the lowest cost option to increase the points to a point where they might, based on the previous years, they would receive a grant. Do I have the scores on here? Yeah, so these three structures currently score 45, 46.3, and 41.3. With the additional points, the lowest score would be 51.3. Going back to so this is a little summary of the lowest score to receive a bridge improvement replacement grant going back to 2018, as well as the total number of bridges that received grants, and on the left would be the total replacement grant funds each year. So going all the way back until 2018, that 51.3 score would have received a grant every year. But there's no guarantee going forward. As you can see here, here's a couple of years where they really had federal, or they received significant federal funds that they were able to trade out with some of the state funds and put the state funds into this so they could utilize them as in the big program. That has gone away. Going forward, this number is probably going to be closer to about 13.5 million. What they usually reserve about 1.5 million just for the hydraulic studies, the grants that are awarded in August. And then there's also some funds that they will, if there's preservation projects, they like to put those ahead of replacements if they can.
So if we commit to doing the extra engineering costs here, that gets us to apply to the DOT, but that's not guaranteeing that we will be granted the project, correct?
Correct.
But if we were granted the project, that's not guarantee a timeline for that project to be bid?
So at that point, the plans are essentially ready to go. The DOT, once they are confident that it'll be awarded, they usually initiate a review on their end, and so we can begin the review process. So it may be possible, like, if we were to do this and we applied in December, January 2nd of 2027 would be the deadline for the application. The awards would probably go to the Transportation Commission in March of 2027. Likely, if they knew that the structure was probably going to receive a grant, they would start the review of the plans already. So you may be, by April, May, you may have the opportunity to be ready to go out for bids. Unlikely that you're going to be constructing something in 2027 yet, but it is possible, if depending on how many contractors are out there, if you wanted to try and push them to get it done in 2027 yet. But more likely it would be construction in 2028.
Okay. If that helps Doug kind of understand the timeline, how.
Yeah. And all these regulations with the hydraulics, I mean, the engineering end that you have to do, that has to be done regardless whether we go through a state bid or not. I mean, it's not the case of half the price is
Correct.
getting all the research done to make the state say they'll fund it.
Yeah, I mean, there could be cost savings going on your own, because when we go through the DOT, we are required to put together a full hydraulic design report. In many cases, that's not 100% necessary. You know, a more streamlined, simplified hydraulic analysis where we aren't exploring multiple options, we kind of settle in on what we think we know is going to work. We could move forward with less on that. And then likewise in design, with the DOT, every design requires a design and a check design, so it's two complete sets of design calcs for the structure. You wouldn't have to do that if you went on your own, but it is a good practice. It's a really good way to make sure that you're not having an error in your calcs, and it's just a good way to hash out any differences in your design calculations. So I don't know that I would recommend that.
One of the things that I would like to point out, and I'm sure Larry would remember with being on previous boards, is the big focus on this big program was our larger structures, our longer and more square footage structures. And we're kind of still on that realm of taking care of our larger structures where we can take advantage of the state funds to help us with those larger structures, because obviously there's a larger cost with a larger structure. And that's kind of what we've been focusing on is our, you know, it used to be the river bridges over the Sioux River. Now we're kind of branching out from that, taking care of some of our other longer structures.
Well, I guess my question was just kind of evolved around the idea that on a state level, when they've built new offices in Rapid City and Sioux Falls, they contracted with someone else to build and own and then lease it, because then they didn't have to go through all this. If it's not a state property, there's a lot less hoops to jump through, and they can get it built and get moved in a whole lot quicker.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know whether, I mean, if there was a 50% cost savings from not jumping through all the state's hoops, then we could get structures built. But I mean, I
don't
have
think,
no
I
idea
mean,
if it's that point or not. So.
yeah, you know, in the grand scheme of things, your design costs on the front end might be, say, 10 to 20% of the total cost. So your savings would be.
Counts as our contribution then?
No, it does not. But so there may be some savings there, but you still have your construction costs, and those costs are what they are. It's at the mercy of the market of when you're bidding and how many bidders you have. So there may be some costs going alone, but it's not significant. I still think it's worth attempting to get matching funds from the DOT on a lot of these structures. So
You said the minimum that the county can propose is to pay 20% of it after we've already paid 10 to 20% up front.
correct. But that 10, 20% up front, or the design cost on this, going bid ready, buys you 10 points to give you a better chance.
What does putting our portion in at 30% say buy us points-wise?
So at 20, the minimum is 20%, and the maximum that they award additional points for is 50%. And so in between there's a 10 points they will give out. So if you did 50-50, which we have done in the past, you essentially are buying 10 points to secure a grant.
But we used to have to do that because they had a cap.
Yeah,
Oh, they've removed the cap.
and the reason we did that before was we needed to proceed, but there was a $4 million cap over a 3-year period, and we were at that limit for several years. So we didn't have available grant funds, so we went 50-50 to keep working. Now that cap has been lifted to $8 million, and that's a little harder to hit, and we're not going to hit that for a while, especially since we're not doing 200-300 foot Big Sioux bridges right now. So
Thank you.
Okay. So essentially, we need to decide if we want to do this here in the future. We'd have to put it on the agenda and just,
What is the deadline to apply?
This would be for next December application.
Oh, okay, so we have time to get these agreements on the
Yes.
agenda and approved.
Sorry,
We're
I
not up
thought-
against a deadline there.
But sooner the better, so they can get to,
Yeah, and I can get them on I was just hoping that they weren't, you didn't need them by the 1st or
No,
something.
I thought,
Okay.
I thought they were going to be on the agenda, but no, my apologies on that. No, it'd be, yeah, the sooner we can get them in, we can get them scheduled in our workload, because we'll have to fit them in with all the other projects we're working on, but we do have a place planned for them to work on these, assuming we move forward with this, so.
yep. Okay, any other questions for Colin? Thank you.
Good information, Colin, thank you.
Moving on to item F, Brookings Economic Development Corporation presentation.
Good morning, County Commissioners and County staff. It's really exciting to get to be here with you today. I'm Maddie Kerr. I serve as a Business Development Specialist with Brookings Economic Development Corporation.
And I'm Sierra Stephenson. I'm the Marketing Specialist for BEDC.
And our other three amigo that is not able to be with us today because we are short staff right now is Stephanie Mason, who serves as our Vice President of Economic Development and Operations. We just want to give you a big thank you for being partners with us and providing an investment into our organization that allow us to do economic development work and planning that really has a high impact within Brookings County. We want to give you a little bit of an update on what we've been up to this past year, knowing that this is not completely indicative of what we've been up to, and there's certainly a laundry list of things that we're looking forward to as we head into the new year. So we'll dive right in. Thanks, Stacy. We met early on, actually, with Stacy, Commissioner Hostler, and Commissioner Miller, just to visit a little bit about what some of your priorities were looking at 2025, and to talk a little bit about what we were looking at from a BEDC standpoint. So it was a really great conversation centered around looking at things like housing, investment into our area communities outside of the Brookings municipality, and really just strengthening that regional collaboration. So one of the things that actually came out of that conversation was the idea of doing a regional meetup. That was something that we hosted then in August. I know several of you in this room were in attendance, so thank you for that. But it was a really great starting point for us to be able to pull together a variety of stakeholders within the Brookings County area, everything from planning and zoning to county personnel, other municipality staff and elected officials, as well as board members and other stakeholders that would have an direct investment in economic development within our area. Conversation certainly centered around housing, affordability of land annexation, and doing a little bit of planning there. So something that we'll look to continue as we go on, kind of tested the waters a little bit with that group of people in the room that day and asked, what are some things that you maybe, or how frequently would you like to meet in this setting? And it came up biannually. So in the off time, then, we decided with a lot of questions maybe around tax increment financing, what it is, how people are maybe able to use it. It kind of led to the opportunity of us having a educational event that we hosted then in early November. I think it was scheduled for late October, and we had a few scheduling hurdles, where we actually invited the Director of County Equalization, Jacob Bremer, as well as Todd Kays from the 1st District Association of Local Governments, or our planning district for the area, to kind of come in and just give a high-level overview of how to be ready if you're looking at doing a tax increment financing district, maybe to support like housing infrastructure or build out of an area with land annexation and purchasing, expanding opportunities for our communities within Brookings County to grow. And it was just really great. It was a little bit lower attendance. We have that session recorded. If that's something that's of interest to you in our recap, we'll make sure that you get that. But overall, that regional conversation was a really great starting point to talking about what does economic development look like for Brookings County as a whole, and how can we all kind of work in concert with one another to have the best high impact that is just great for our areas and helps this region grow and thrive. I think we'll move into a little bit on our other initiatives. So overall, we have about 4 initiatives. I think we have a slide in here that highlights it in a little bit. But one of those areas is supporting existing businesses. And a large part of my role is to get out and connect with businesses, visit with them through our Business Retention and Expansion Program. BR&E programs are a huge part of economic development and being able to get that local information and local data directly from people that are involved in it, your business owners and leaders. We're in our 2nd year of the BR&E program, and I think it's been going really well. It has been a little bit slower than last year, but I look forward to this next year and maybe getting into some other industry segments. So primarily, we've been visiting with folks in the manufacturing, agriculture, finance, real estate, and insurance areas. So that being said, we're also looking to get out into our Volga community and Arlington community. So along those lines, with outreach and business development, with Volga in particular, there's kind of 2 primary ways that we work through the BR&E program, and that is through an annual business survey as well as getting out with business visits. We do a little bit of like a smaller touch point called a business walk, and this was the 2nd year of both the downtown and Volga community. So getting out in Volga with Michael Schulte, we've been able to connect with about over 25 businesses each year, and now we're kind of actively working through a couple of those more formal business visits, which a business visit would be something that we would actually schedule. It'd be a sit-down conversation, a little bit more in depth than just a, hey, we're dropping in introduction that we maybe do on the business walk. So we've really been focusing on working with Arlington and Volga right now with BEDC because they have been regional city partners with BEDC historically over the last 5-ish plus years in kind of that named format of being a regional city partner. So Volga has definitely seen a little bit more traction than Arlington, though Arlington is getting to be pretty exciting in 2026 with just some of the work that we're doing there with their Chamber of Commerce as well. A lot of the concerns that we're hearing, which will have a formal kind of year-end report come out here in the first quarter of 2026 from the BR&E program and visits this year, is that property taxes certainly are playing a factor, but also just looking at growth and expansion opportunities. Available land and site-ready land is certainly something that has been an interesting conversation that is leading to a couple of conversations internally as we kind of transition into our newly merged organization. Some other really great work that we've been doing in those communities, I'm actually going to let Sierra talk about.
So we have started doing consumer surveys again. So we did one in Brookings last year, and then we are currently doing one in Volga and in Arlington this year. We just determined yesterday that the Arlington survey is going to run all the way through March. They've just had a lot of activity going on and haven't been able to promote it as much as they'd like. But for the Brookings survey, we had about 600 people participate, and we're able to take that data and share and support why some of the development going on in the area is important and what our residents are looking for, and why it's important for continuing to grow the Brookings area. In Volga, we are going to be wrapping up the consumer survey at the end of the year, and then we will bring all of the data together and put it in a nice little report to go out. And then with Volga and Arlington, a lot of what we're focusing on is services offered and how that impacts business in those communities, and why people live in those communities, what they're looking for, and ways to expand and support the region as a whole and not just each town itself, how the Brookings region in general, Brookings County, can really help support the growth that is happening in the area.
All right, there's that slide that I was referencing that we were going to talk about our initiatives. So those 4 kind of key initiatives really have guided a variety of our work, both from things that have maybe been laid out for our organization through the City of Brookings Master Economic Development Plan, to strategic initiatives that have been born out of board conversations, to just feedback that we're hearing, right? There's a little bit of flexibility and openness that we have to have in economic development to be able to meet any opportunity that comes our way. And oh my goodness, there are a lot of opportunities that we have ahead for our county, and it's just, I have a lot of pride when I get to go to statewide events where I maybe get to interact with other folks, and they say, we would love to have this. We would love to have, the population growth that Brookings County is seeing. We would love to have this opportunity. We would love to have a new interstate exchange. So kudos to any work that you have been involved in making that happen, whether it's the interstate exchange to all the other numerous things we can talk about. I do think that our area is just really poised for growth, and I'm looking forward to working with you and many others to be able to meet those opportunities when they come. So we'll go a little bit more in depth on some of the next initiatives in the following slides. In addition to the Business Retention and Expansion Program, there's a couple other ways that our organization supports existing businesses. So through our industry cluster events, we're looking to pull together those industries within our area that maybe have just a little bit more businesses involved. So primarily agriculture. There's a couple of subsectors that probably go into that, and then manufacturing. The idea is bringing together those business owners, leaders, folks within those industries, whether they are stakeholders or not, just to kind of do a little bit more of an in-depth conversation on current trends and what's going on there, maybe ways that we are able to support one another in that. I think we've had some great success and are looking forward to this upcoming year too. We did kind of two bigger industry cluster events with agriculture and manufacturing, where we brought in several stakeholder partners, whether it was the South Dakota Department of Labor and Regulation and Secretary Holtman to talk about workforce trends that we're seeing in manufacturing, to USDA Rural Development for funding opportunities, South Dakota Trade talking about some of our agricultural trade opportunities and issues going on, though I would say with an agriculture background that's maybe gotten a little bit better, but it can always be a little bit more as well. So just a lot of industry related folks in those conversations that allow us to have that convening point and hear directly from folks involved in that market segment. SBDC services through the Small Business Development Center. We're very fortunate that we get to have an office within our county. I serve as a part-time counselor for that. It is funded both federally and statewide. Brookings County technically falls within a region where the regional director is based out of Watertown. I kind of cover the majority of inquiries that come up in Brookings County, and then as we're a team of like 1.5 full-time equivalents, we kind of block and tackle for one another as we need to. But while we've maybe overall with the SBDC center system statewide seen a little bit of a cooling down just from economic factors of, right, maybe loan rates and whatnot, building costs are not as favorable for building expansion. We've seen a lot of work with existing businesses, and we're seeing some trends right now with a lot of change of ownership, where that generation that has ran and operated their business for 35 years is maybe looking to actually retire and move on. So I've worked with a few of those here in Brookings, and a lot of the work that we do is confidential by nature, so I wish that I could tell you more details, but we simply can't. We can certainly provide metrics though. So I want to let you know that SBDC services in our area are going really well, and we're seeing a lot of just really positive things happening. I think I've worked with over about 40 clients and have ended up doing like $3.75 million in direct counseling. So that has been investments in some way, shape, or form in Brookings County. Those investments and how we count them on the SBDC system is directly tied to some sort of approved loan, whether that is through a commercial bank or some sort of other funding partner. And then Sierra's going to talk about some of the marketing efforts that we've done with existing businesses.
Yeah, so we have been doing quite a few business spotlights. They go out monthly in our newsletter. So if you don't get our newsletter, I apologize. I'll make sure that you're all on that list after this. But we have an intern in our office who's been doing a lot of short form video to just touch base with all of the businesses in the area, make sure we're featuring them. We don't do just Brookings specific. We do focus on our regional partners as well as a couple other communities. We're looking at getting into a business in Aurora and also Elkton here coming up. So just making sure that we're sharing the stories, and they're actually some of our highest, we have some of our highest engagement rates on our social media. It's the fun stuff that the community enjoys watching. So we get a lot of really great engagement on that, and have heard feedback from the businesses that they've had new customers or new people seeking their services because they saw the post on our social media. So that's great to hear.
Moving into recruiting and attracting new businesses, we've seen about 10 requests for information or RFIs come out, the majority of them being sourced and sent out from the Governor's Office of Economic Development through their RFI platform that we have access to then one that we independently sourced via a board member that saw it and sent it our way. So one thing that I wanted to talk about with this is that the majority of the RFIs that we've seen, our community does not qualify for, whether that is land and site readiness to infrastructure availability. Hard to aggregate exactly in those, because we've seen things from they need a large amount of water to they need 1,000 acres contiguous for some operations and whatnot, which, right, good luck, and maybe finding 1,000 acres that are contiguous definitely would be a puzzle piece to work through. But the two that we have qualified for, or there's three that we have qualified for, and we submitted for 2 of them. We did not advance in the process, but it's interesting to see. I know that the Governor's Office of Economic Development, their business development representatives have been getting out a lot more, seeing a lot of things that are maybe related to defense. So, there's a significant investment going on out in the Black Hills with the expansion and work going on at the Ellsworth Air Force Base. So while it's not necessarily explicitly spelled out in those RFIs, because you don't get a name, you don't get an industry segment, if it kind of quacks like a duck, it might be a duck. So you can kind of piece those together, and then lo and behold, typically anywhere from 6 months later, you maybe see a press release related to that. But the big challenge with our RFIs is really having that site available land with the infrastructure ready to meet it. And that's something that Stephanie Mason and I have really been thinking through internally, and something that we want to focus on moving into that Q1 of the new year, of doing a little bit of our own internal and infrastructure assessments, as well as working with local area professionals that are skilled maybe in those areas, and our service and utility providers, to make sure that we as a county are ready to meet some of these opportunities. There's a program called Infrastructure First that the Governor's Office of Economic Development was involved in 2024. They did a lot of infrastructure studies with ISG on kind of taking a look across the state on building out infrastructure, having some site-ready areas. I believe I talk about this a little bit later, but I'll talk about it now. Brookings County, I don't know maybe what was happening when they were reviewing, but we are fortunate enough to end up with 2 locations, and that didn't happen anywhere else within the state. So really taking a look at that infrastructure first information that came back, the confidential internal work, from really looking at sites to maybe looking at opportunities based on industry segment, to maybe see if we can make something work and do a little bit bigger project that would provide a really significant investment into the Brookings area. And when I say something like that, I guess I will liken it to another Bell Brands project, right? What is something like that that can be really transformative for our region, that maybe helps bring in a different market segment, or bring in another large group of folks that then provides just a really great opportunity for an organization to join our area and become invested in this. So we'll actually maybe hop back to the last slide, Stacy, just to make sure I didn't miss anything. One of the other big things with this infrastructure readiness and site readiness is that we've also been working with local utility providers and landowners to have conversations on tracking down, any sort of rumblings that we may hear of so-and-so might be interested in selling their land if the right project came along. Stephanie and I are working to build relationships with those folks, get in front of them, get handshakes, and really just understand what their desire may be, because we know that not every project might be a certain fit, and we really want to respect those landowners in the process too. Now we'll move to the next slide. Thank you, Stacy.
This is good.
This is good.
Thank you.
All right, so as we look ahead, we know that we are transitioning into a newly merged economic organization called, legally right now, the Brookings Regional Growth Alliance. There will be a more formal kind of public name that comes out that will end up being a DBA of that Brookings Regional Growth Alliance, but legally it exists as BRGA right now. A lot of our work this last year has maybe we'll have to see what happens with the merger and where we're going. I'm really excited to share that Stephanie and I are going to continue to be your friendly faces directly involved in that business development work. So as anything comes up, if you have questions, if you want to talk a little bit more, please do reach out to Stephanie and I. We'd be more than happy, as our schedule allows, to grab a cup of coffee with you or have a conversation around what are those opportunities and kind of what's some of the more in the weeds work that we're looking ahead at. And the next two bullet points after the Infrastructure First program definitely talks about what are the in the weeds work. InPlan is an economic impact analysis software that allows us to kind of punch in a couple of different metrics depending on the project to kind of get some sort of output from that. So an example would be the grocery leakage retail study that we did a couple years ago with Dakota Institute. Jared McIntaffer utilized the InPlan software to do that and be able to provide, like, Brookings County or the Brookings area is kind of losing this much in sales tax, right? Or you might have this much of a potential investment from something like that coming in. So kind of whatever the project may be, it's a really powerful tool, and Stephanie and I are excited to kind of have that back in our wheelhouse and be able to look at some of the larger conversations that have been happening around maybe this industry segment or this particular project. Possibly looking at, right, like a project that could be along County Road 214. I do know that road is of interest to all of you as well, and maybe getting that paved and doing a project along that area could be a possibility to kind of help see that come to fruition. So the data and analytical work that we do internally is going to be tantamount to our success in looking at what areas that we're looking to recruit in and kind of where we're presently at, so that we don't necessarily dilute any workforce or cause any unjust competition in a particular market segment, but what's something that's really complementary, right? Whether it's maybe ahead of a manufacturing stream to kind of post manufacturing stream or logistically related, how can we be complementary to the businesses that are already operating within our county and still bring in, another really great employer that has a huge investment and impact. Moving along, the housing study was last completed in 2022. Those are typically done every 5 years, so we're looking ahead at 2027. We've had some questions right now based on the amount of apartment projects that you've seen, particularly within the Brookings municipality, go on to then some of our conversations in our regional city meetup of we need to add more houses, we need to add more rooftops, how do we grow our community? We're looking to maybe do some intermediary data analysis to help us understand from a couple of units in the various housing categories that were put out in the 2002 housing study. Where are we measuring up at? Obviously, we can take a look at permits, at building permits and whatnot for each municipality, but we're looking for a little bit more comprehensive data analysis on that to really understand, are we at a point of saturation, let's say, with apartment complexes or not? So know that that's something that we're also dialing into and looking at very seriously here in this first quarter, since we are still kind of a year and a half away from kicking off a formal housing study, maybe less than a year. I'll turn it over to Sierra to talk about the Brookings video project.
So about 7 years ago, BEDC did a video project that was utilized for recruiting workforce to the area, as well as businesses. Right now, our main focus is workforce. So we're working with a team called Forefront Studios to update that video. We have already gone around the area and got a bunch of footage just showcasing why this is a great place to live and work and grow your life. And then we also just did an interview section with some folks, some leaders in the community who really tell the story of Brookings and the Brookings County as a whole. We have a couple who works outside of Brookings, but lives in Brookings, so they're just kind of bridging that gap of how the communities kind of work together to support each other. We're hoping to launch this video in early 2026. It will come with the new brand, new name that everybody's been patiently waiting for. But we heard a lot of feedback that businesses in the area have been using this for workforce attraction, and just thought it would be a great time to update this resource and be able to continue to provide that to our local businesses.
Thanks, Sierra. Something else that's very near and dear to my heart is a big part of my job, supporting innovation and entrepreneurship. Talked a little bit about SBDC support earlier, but also want to talk about some other programming that we have going on this last year and are also looking ahead at. So the Co-Starters program is a entrepreneur accelerator program kind of focused on a really high impact programmed opportunity for folks to come in, get a little bit more information, and feel like they have some action items that then can get started with their business. So that's a program that we support. I was a part of 2 cohorts this last year, one that we hosted directly in Brookings that had about 6 participants, to then one that was a more statewide initiative of Dakota Resources. So looking forward to continuing that within our Brookings area. As well as some other opportunities for programming related to like spaghetti sessions. So that one's kind of fun. It's more around how do we provide that kind of low stakes networking opportunity for other entrepreneurs to get to know one another and talk through their ideas, just to have that community. So we call it spaghetti sessions because we actually eat spaghetti and we get together at the Children's Museum, and it kind of came out of the idea of like throwing spaghetti at a wall and seeing what sticks, doing the same with business ideas and how they're maybe able then to get some good feedback to move forward on, or maybe, move on to the next idea. Kidpreneur programming, another really great highlight from this last year. It's a program that we do with Downtown Brookings in conjunction with their Brookings Bonanza event. So we had over 25 participants, and it's just a great opportunity for us to instill the entrepreneurial spirit and programming in kids at an early age. We have no idea, right, if this is going to end up being some of our next business owners and leaders within the Brookings community, but it's really important that we plant those seeds now and show them that anyone can be an entrepreneur, and kind of work them through a little bit of making sure they also make money in the process. So there's a little bit of business education that goes along with that. Sierra talked a little bit about the entrepreneur spotlights already. Do you have anything else that you'd want to add with that?
Oh, and just entrepreneur-wise, we feature folks who have gone through the SBDC process. We have some co-starters, folks that are going to be featured as well, but very similar to business spotlights, and they're seeing good outcomes from having those small video features out there.
And then last but certainly not least, when it comes to our initiatives, is the collaborative economic development leadership. So talking through a little bit of our leadership and regional alignment, one of the big things that we have put out now, and it's available on our website in much more detail, would be our legislative platform. Yes, session is coming right up. It'll be here before we know it, and there are quite a few hot button topics that are going to come up in that, particularly economic development as a whole and maybe how that is viewed across the state, to property taxes. That'll also be a huge conversation that has many implications. So you can check out our legislative platform online. We'll make sure that the link gets sent to you so you can really read through. There's, I think, over 15 kind of areas that we address and talk about. So some of those highlights would just be really emphasizing that local control and flexibility for things as it comes up related to infrastructure and transportation, property taxes, right? A statewide thing might not work the best for Brookings County, and that's just something that we talk a little bit more in depth about in our legislative platform. To then overall just support for those modernized economic development tools that allow us to really be successful here in growing our region. We will also be working with our lobbyist, Matt Krogman, to do some legislative updates on a weekly basis, so we'll make sure that you get information on that. You're invited to attend those. Last year he was doing them kind of almost every Wednesday at 4 o'clock, so we'll make sure that you have information on that if that's something that you'd like to attend and receive those updates directly from Matt. Other things, we're looking to do that regional city meetup again in February, so kind of like a mid-legislative session preview, so know that more information will be coming on that, and I will let Sierra talk a little bit about the work with Vision Brookings.
Yeah, we continue to work with Vision Brookings as they're through a management contract, so we help handle all of their finances, and then a big part of that is guiding economic development decisions. So a few of the things that they've been supporting are large economic development initiatives, so the Child Care Collaborative. They are helping support the video project that's coming out to help with that workforce recruitment. the I-29 exit. But we'll continue to work with them and be a voice for economic development in the region. And then Community Leader Roundtable, we gather once a month to discuss things that are going on in the area and kind of bounce ideas off of, the leaders bounce ideas off of each other to figure out how they can best support each other. With that though, that will likely change with the new organization. I have a few ideas on how that can be just a little bit more beneficial for everyone involved. So more to come on that, but we just wrapped up our final one in December with an update on the merger, and then we'll send out updates as we kind of realign in the new organization. And then the Economic Summit.
Yeah, save the date, May 5th. We'll be doing our third Economic Summit, something that we kicked off several years ago, of just a great way for us to give those really broad economic landscape updates, hear from a variety of stakeholders that maybe have a little bit of a larger presence within the area. So know that information will be coming to your inboxes as well, but we wanted to at least throw the date out today. In conclusion, thanks a lot for your support this last year. Certainly means the world to us. I know it's been really fun to be able to also get to build relationships with each one of you as we've maybe come across one another at events and kind of talk through some of the work that we're doing. It's hard to summarize a whole year of work into a very brief presentation, so if you would ever like to know more information, please know that any of us would be more than willing to do so. Thank you so much. We really do look forward to continuing a little bit more in the weeds partnership as we really talk about some of these broader topics moving into 2026 that are crucial, from property taxes to infrastructure investment and site readiness, and being able to really meet those opportunities when they come up for our county. So thank you so much. We will pause for any questions if you have any.
I just want to say I've been involved with the BDC for my tenure on the commission, and this past year and moving into the Regional Growth Alliance, the focus more as a regional organization to help with Brookings is exciting. And with the Regional Growth Alliance starting in 26 and moving forward, I think there's great things to come. So I appreciate all your guys' hard work, and yeah, keep it up. Keep up.
Thank you.
Any other comments from board?
Great presentation, ladies. Thank you. Good
Thank you.
information. Exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we now go back to regular business. Item F, action to approve resolution number 25-66, fiscal year 2025 contingency transfers. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any comments?
As I sat down with the finance office to look over year-end budgets, these are the contingency transfers needed to keep things kind of out of the red here as we near year end. Probably the biggest thing to note is the judicial system that went significantly over budget this year. Again, that's something that we just can't really anticipate. I don't know if Dan has any additional comments to that, but I think we're looking at some other ways to reduce some of those costs in the future. But if you take that kind of out of the mix, we're in pretty good shape.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Hearing none, call roll, please.
Hostler.
Aye.
Vanderwall.
Aye.
Post. Miller. Jensen.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item G, action approved resolution number 25-67. A resolution setting the official pay plan for 2026. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further comments?
So this is the budgeted pay plan for 2026. We like to get this out and approved before the year turns over. This lists all of the positions and the pay grades by department, countywide. And again, this is was approved through the annual budget in September. Also, as part of this, I did include the kind of 2025 year-end FTE, full-time equivalent employee list. I don't think that's changed a whole lot from the beginning of the year. So, yeah, that's it, unless you have any questions on that.
Any questions on the pay plan? Okay. Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Vanderwall,
Aye.
Post,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Hostler,
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item H, action to approve agreement number 25-93, an agreement between Brookings County and the City of Volga for the maintenance of Samara Avenue, County Road 5. Do I have motion to approve?
Move to approve.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments?
This agreement is for the new, well, partially newly constructed Samara Avenue over in Volga. The city of Volga has already approved this maintenance agreement. I don't know, Brian, if you have anything to add to that.
No, so far it seems like our crews and their crews are working together to try to keep the streets so we ain't plugging their streets or inundating their sidewalk with snow, but seems like it's working fairly good so far.
Is there anything special with the new construction that needs to be addressed, or this will handle it?
This should handle everything. Kind of like we discussed, I know Larry and Kelly were pretty involved as they were on the task force. But if you scroll up, it divvies out the responsibilities for each entity with a lot of the additional responsibilities outside the roadway that was, previously there with their sanitary sewer, the drop inlet, storm sewer, water, curb and gutter, ADA accesses at all the streets that were affected by the construction, the sidewalk and the crosswalks that are going to be coming within the next phases, or the next phase, sorry, and then any of the warning or lighting that was on taken care of on the city side in the mailboxes. Whereas Brookings County, when I was first originally met with this, I know it was discussed all the way back in 2017 when it was brought to my attention when I was fairly new to the position. I know we had negated to pave through the city of Volga, basically starting at the city limits all the way up to Highway 14. We omitted paving on a paving project through town, and essentially what the county of Brookings will be taking care of forward here is basically that pavement that would have been in the existing shape, outside of the roadway, which would include the curb and gutter. So the county's responsibility would be the asphalt roadway surface from curb edge to curb edge, and striping and painting of the asphalt roadway, and then the jurisdictional authority, which, anything that would happen inside that right of way, we would still, request to get permits when the city works within that right of way, even though they were part of this process, but they would be required permits, if they were going to be working within the right of way.
Okay. Any other questions?
Brian, this is great to see, so it just helps each entity understand what their responsibility is. Maybe it's in here and I didn't see it, but like additional signage, like say if they want to put a no passing zone or that kind of thing, or no parking.
That is why we are maintaining the jurisdictional authority of the roadway. They would need to, come forward to us with those requests, and then it would be brought to the board. But I would assume that this is why we wanted it this way from the original inception, is that we know what's going on within our roadway and right-of-way.
I didn't read this real close. Does this address the seal coat process in the future?
There again, as I mentioned, the roadway surface between edge of curb and edge of curb would be the maintenance of the highway or the county highway.
Okay.
So any seal coating, you know, crack sealing or anything like that, that would be the county's responsibility, which it would have originally been when the roadway was not improved.
Correct. Okay. Hearing no other comments, so call the roll, please.
Post.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Hassler.
Aye.
Vanderwall.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item I, action approve agreement number 25-94, an agreement for detention services between Minnehaha County, Lutheran Social Services, South Dakota, and Brookings County. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments?
This is an annual agreement that we do with Minnehaha County for juvenile detention services down at the JDC, down in Sioux Falls, also with Lutheran Social Services Shelter Care. This is a pretty significant expense to the county if and when we have juveniles that are down there in these facilities. The increase for JDC is going up a little over $24 from last year to $522.02 per day. And then for Lutheran Social Services Shelter Care, that's going up almost $12 per day to $308 a day.
Okay. Any comments from the board? Hearing none, call the roll.
Miller.
Aye.
Hassler.
Aye.
Vanderwall.
Aye.
Post.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item J, action approved and authorize IT Administrator Sean Plowman to sign agreement number 25-92, an agreement for the setup for a secure email solution between Brookings County and Secure South Dakota. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any comments?
This was on the agenda 2 weeks ago. However, we did the voice vote, but we went back and there was no motion or second made. I think the conversation just started. So we caught that. We're bringing it back so that it can be properly approved at this meeting.
Okay. Any further comments? Hearing none, call the roll.
Hassler.
Aye.
Vanderwall.
Aye.
Post.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item K, action to automatically supplement for unanticipated expenses incurred and reimbursement made to the Brookings County for reimbursement from the opioid settlement receipt number 007298887, 007351165, 00741026, 00741027, 00741029, and 00741130 to General Ledger Line 252-4-151-4281 in the amount of $5,859.06. Do I have a motion to approve?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments?
These are all of the receipts that we've received throughout the year for the opioid money. This just gives us budget authority now within that fund to spend those dollars.
Okay. Any further comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item L, action approve a retail on-sale liquor license for Danceland Campground effective January 1, 2026 to December 31st, 2026. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments?
The only comment that I would have is that this is the annual retail on-sale liquor license application. All of the other businesses we've approved at a prior meeting.
Okay. Any questions, comments?
Any reason this one got pushed back here?
Just turned in after the deadline.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Any other? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item M, discussion and possible action giving direction on drafting a combined election agreement.
I think, I don't know that there's really much action, maybe just some direction to give give us today. Last week, we had a discussion with City of Brookings representatives and Brookings School District representatives regarding in elections in 2026, possibly combining with the June primary or the November general elections. Of course, this all came with the passage of House Bill 1130 last year. That discussion really centered around cost sharing. As the discussions kind of went on, there was a proposal. I think that is now in that draft agreement that I handed out here this morning, where the first 25% of election costs would be shared equally among the entities who are combining in an election, whether that's the primary or the general. And then the last 75% of the costs would be split proportionately based on what's on the ballot for those entities. So if the school district had one race and the county had 10 different things on the ballot, then they would be getting, or 9 different things, do it that way, then they'd be 10% of the ballot would be the schools, for example. That's just an example. I think that's kind of what everyone kind of walked away from that meeting thinking that was something that they could at least bring forward. Again, for 2026 may need to be looked at again moving forward after next year, but wanted to get something in place to move forward. I believe that, again, that draft agreement in front of you that I handed out this morning has that particular kind of cost share explained. I think the school board, the Brookings School Board, did vote to have June elections. And I think the city, did they vote? Did they vote to have November elections? So it would be the possibility of those entities then combining with us on those dates.
Okay.
I guess kind of what I'm looking for, is the commission comfortable with that kind of cost breakdown? And then, if so, we would bring this agreement that's in that draft form right now forward probably at the next meeting for approval.
Input from the board?
Yeah, I guess I would add that this cost-sharing agreement was something that was discussed among the 3 entities there at that meeting. It was proposed as an intention of hopefully pulling them all into the November. Unfortunately, the school has decided to go otherwise now, so not sure exactly what all is there. They've got their own reasons for doing what they were doing, but obviously we came with a higher cost share for them and then compromised, hoping that we could pull them into our ballot that had fewer races on it. But unfortunately, that hasn't happened.
I would just like to say thank you to Lori and staff for putting that meeting together. I feel like that was a very productive meeting to get everybody on the same page. Good conversation. You guys came very prepared. Well done. I think that was a very, very good meeting.
I'd also like to thank the election staff and people involved with getting together and making this work. I guess if this agreement works for everybody and we can make it work, I'd like to see it move forward, and I guess I would agree with approving it.
Can I ask, will there be another meeting scheduled to summarize, or is there no plans on that at this time, or?
There are no plans for that at this time. If you would like one, I can sure set something up.
I just want to see those lines of communication stay open between the 3 entities so all the little stuff gets leveled out and it can go as smoothly as possible.
What I see moving forward now with the school district coming on, and that's if they have an election, right? They may not, but if they do, then I think there would be just some additional discussions on logistics that can happen between the school district business officer, Stacy Van Beek, and Lori and Jenna in our finance office, so that everything runs smoothly. I think that's kind of where it goes from here. I mean, both entities made their decisions on when they want to do it. Both have their reasons for doing so, for picking the time that they wanted. So I think the school, it just fell more in line with their calendar year. They're a fiscal year July 1 start. So having that election in June, that brings on that new, potentially new board members right at the start of a fiscal year, and they have kind of like work sessions, training sessions for new board members are in August, and so it made more sense for them. That, and I think every other school district, I don't know, is pretty much that they've been in contact with, is doing the June timeframe as well. So, and then the city, I think it came down to, voter turnout for them. It really came down to that, where general elections just have a larger voter turnout. And I don't want to speak for those entities, but I think that's kind of, part of the reasons why they chose the dates that they chose. But now it'll just be a matter of keeping in touch with them and making sure things run smoothly as we get closer and closer to those election days.
In the meeting, the cost of the election, was each entity well aware of what it potentially could cost?
We did
that was
provide
discussed.
breakdowns.
Scenarios were discussed through the,
Yeah, we did provide breakdowns of what the past elections have cost us and what we have budgeted for next year's election.
Yeah. That's what I was,
I would
just to make
summarize
sure.
it. This is probably the best solution. I mean, it could always be better, but this solution will provide that it's not going to drastically increase costs for the county, and shouldn't drastically increase election costs for either the city or the school. There was potentially more savings that could be had, but
Right, it's not going to be a
not
big.
to us.
It won't be a big surprise to them.
Right.
Correct. Okay. So,
So
do we want-
I think you can just give direction to put this next, give us direction to put this agreement that's in front of you in draft form today. We can put that on the agenda for the next meeting in January and get that moving forward, and then we can get that sent out to the school and the city as well.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea. I know the city administrator in Volga is also interested in taking a look at possibly this agreement. I know that they're also holding their elections in November, so they could potentially want to combine as well, so.
And just for public info, Jenna, you did reach out to other school districts and other small towns also.
Yep, we did reach out to all of the business managers in Brookings County, as well as all the city clerks. I just wanted to get a good idea on the date that they selected, where they're going to hold their election, and then if they thought about the possibility of combining with us. They could always change their mind. At the time that I did ask them, a lot of them had said no, they're going to be doing their own election in their own space. But the only one that really kind of came forward with maybe some interest would be the city of Volga.
And this agreement would kind of blanket any entity that would want to come to work with us.
Yeah, I think we did a good job at drafting it to make it as, it's not just for one entity. It's not just for the city of Brookings or the Brookings School District. It's for every single municipality and school district within our county. Yep, I think that would be good.
Dan, any thoughts, concerns on this agreement?
I would certainly encourage all the smaller communities and schools to consider not presenting a situation where people have to go to two different locations to vote, if at all possible. I just would relieve a lot of confusion for people.
Okay. Well, we got a general consensus to move forward with the agreement then?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, moving on. Item N, discussion and possible action to authorize administrative leave for all full-time benefit eligible employees on Friday, December 26, 2025.
I'll make a motion to approve administrative leave for the employees, if we're at that point.
We have a motion and a second.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Comments? Any
Merry
comments?
Christmas.
I think
I guess my comment would be that the state offices, the state governor, and the governor has given state employees that day off with Thanksgiving, Christmas being on a Thursday. What this does for our full-time staff is everyone would get 8 hours of administrative leave. When we work with the staff, we know our sheriff's staff will be on duty. We know highway may have to come out if there's a snowstorm. We have those essential services. They would get 8 hours of administrative leave then to use at a later date. But essentially, this kind of is following what the state does. There are a number of other counties that I spoke to. They already either follow what the state does or they are moving forward with this day off as well.
Yeah, I think with Christmas being on that Thursday, travel times being with your family and stuff, it'd be kind of a pain. So I think it's a good thing that we're do something for the staff and alleviate some headaches, because we all know Christmas can be kind of a headache.
also, I believe a lot of the staff was scheduling vacation anyway. We just, hopefully we don't have a blizzard, but the jail will still be open, I guess, and the deputies will still be patrolling, but I'd be in favor of granting it also, so.
All elected officials are still on duty, right?
So. Okay, any further comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item O, action to unassigned $326,000 from general fund balance line 101-2-276-9105, assigned for beta. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
I have a motion and a second. Comments?
This action to just kind of cleans up our fund balance assignments since that beta building purchase happened this past year. Another part of that was part of that budget supplement that was a little bit earlier. This is just some cleanup that moves some of that unused money back into fund balance.
Okay. Any further comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item P, discussion and possible action on year-end general fund assignments. I believe Stacy has some recommendations, and I also have one.
So general fund surplus at year-end needs to be less than 40%. If you can recall, every month I give you an update on where that general fund surplus is. I'm reporting here in November that it's at, November month end is at 45%. So, and then what I do is I kind of estimate where that surplus I think will end up at December month end, and then give you some dollar amounts as options to assign within the fund balance to get us below that 40%. We typically like to be about that 25-30% at year end is where we've kind of discovered that's kind of a comfortable percentage. So as part of my staff report, assigning like $2 million would get us down to about 32%. And again, all pretty high level estimates. I'm doing my best here to let you know where I think we're going to be. 2.5 million, 30%, 2.75 million would get us down to 29%. So somewhere in there is where I think we should be, about 2.5 to 2.75 million that we could assign. Current assignments that we have within the general fund, we have about 2.9 million under future economic development highway projects. We do have $5 million assigned for the 214th Street project, whatever that looks like here moving forward. We're supposed to be hearing back on that grant hopefully here yet in the month of December, but I haven't quite yet about that rural tribal grant that we applied for back in September. And then we do have $10 million assigned for a new highway shop as well. So again, my recommendation would be to assign between that 2.5 to 2.75 million. I would request 500,000 be assigned for the HVAC and system project for this building, and now we're also looking at replacing the boiler system in this building as well. That was unanticipated, that has come up since we initially did some budgeting, so I am asking for that. I think that will be, put us in a good spot for that, for both of those projects, for this building. And then I guess the rest would be at commission discretion, but I think the two big things kind of on the horizon are 214th and the highway shop.
Okay.
You said the 500,000 would be enough for the upgrades and stuff?
I
and
believe
not-
so, yeah. We have some already. And again, that's a shared cost with the city. We would be 52%, they'd be 48%, so of that cost. So I think the HVAC project actually looks like it might come in a little bit lower than we initially anticipated, and we still kind of have a high-level estimate of about 400,000-ish for boilers, so then we would have 52% of that, so 500 I'd be comfortable with that.
Well, I would support that. I don't know if I need to make a recommendation for that, or how we go along that.
I think we had them.
I mean, at the end, if you just kind of list out kind of what you're thinking, and then at the end, we could just do it as one motion to assign these dollar amounts for these specific items.
I know that HVAC stuff for this building has been a kind of a headache for years. So upgrading and making sure that that gets fixed and is engineered the right way for these guys, I think that'd be a good use of that. So that's just my 2 cents. But while I sit on the Joint Powers Board, I've heard a lot of that in the last few years.
What was the total estimate on what that's going to run, the HVAC in this building?
Probably with
9 to
both
$1 million.
projects, I'd say about $1 million, maybe a little bit more than $1 million for both projects. We have, I want to say, between like $200 and $300 right now budgeted for that project, but I think another $500,000 on our end would be good to cover anything that may come up, because in my experience, things change, and we end up,
Because that would be our share.
yeah, that would be our share then, yeah.
In the past
I
few
wouldn't
years,
want
we've
to
been.
short it and do it
No,
wrong again.
No.
Right, and like I said, we already have some already budgeted for that, so.
It's been nickel and a dime in the county for several years, so
Yeah.
it'll be nice to actually fix it right.
Do it right so it lasts.
Yeah.
The only other, I'd recommend, I mean, we got the money today, I'd recommend, possibly if the board agrees, adding the 15,000 to the library request. I hate to see that the county residents outside the city limits would have to, pay for their library cards. I did speak with the city yesterday, and was told that they corresponded with the library, and they would waive that card increase if we would fund the 15,000. I would suggest if we did that, I'd stipulate that it would state that in the request, and also in the future, I'd like to see that we would have a county representative on the library board. I think that would help with understanding the library a little better. And with future funding requests coming from the library, we think this person could bring recommendations back to the board, and we'd be able to understand this a little bit better. That's what, I guess, my opinion on it right now. I don't like that it came to that the city residents and the county and the residents outside the county had to be split on this issue, but today we have the money, and that's I guess my fix to the problem. But on the other end of the deal, you said about 2.5 million would put us at how many percent?
Approximately 30%.
Okay, I don't know what the board thinks. Is that some input towards 214 or towards highway shop? Take recommendations of how much to each project.
Well, I think the 214 would be my priority. As far as dollar amounts, I don't know what we're looking at what that's gonna cost, but that would be my number one priority, is towards that.
We had good presentation today from Banner on the situations with our bridges and structures that we need to go forward with, and I guess any dollars we can, that are supposedly extra taxpayer dollars that we have, should be invested into those areas. If we can buy ahead, pay a larger percent or whatever in order to get some of these structures in place before they end up with load limits for 3-4 years. And I mean, we also had a presentation from economic development. And well, when you've got travel restrictions for grain and livestock and other things being hauled around the country, and they end up going to a different market than one that's in the county, that costs us money too. And it costs our residents money and slows economic development as well. So I think number one priority needs to be to get on top of these structures and ahead of them as much as possible. Because it's something that's going to cost us money at some point. And so the sooner we do them, the less they cost to get in line where they need to be. So I guess I would take the rest of the money we need to reassign and do it all there.
Does it have to be specific to the bridge, or does it?
Yeah. I don't know
We have
what
2
fund
point.
they would have to go to.
Correct. We have the 2.9 in economic development that Stacy brought up. That is already there.
Well, and if we put it there, it can go, depending on structures and when they're approved, or it could be used for the 214 as well if we've got economic development going along on that road and something needs to be done there. I mean, those are structures that would have to be done as well.
Stacy, how
Yeah.
much, from year over year in the last couple of years, what's the percentage that we've moved into or we've lowered to?
Like I said, we've tried to get between that 25 and 30% where we want to be at year end. So
If we did that 2.7, that would get us to that 30%, or which?
it would be close, yeah. 2.75 would get us
Oh,
to
it-
about 29%. But again, these are just estimates based on
Yeah.
kind of what I've been looking at.
I'm just trying to figure out, I'm just doing some math, trying to figure out how much money we have left versus the 2.5 versus 2.75, so.
I mean, I think part of this too is, and I know Jennifer came back up here, I think legislative audit would prefer that if you assign something, it is for a specific project, because even that future economic development highway projects, I think that needs to sort of be addressed. I mean, I think if you leave that as that, but maybe put bridges or something behind it, so we know that that's money for bridges that we're looking at, rather than just sort of this
General
future
fluff.
highway projects kind of thing. So, and then as far as 214th, there are a number of structures along 214th that will have to be addressed if and when that project happens. And so any money that goes to that would help offset the costs of that as well, because there are a number of structures along that route there.
I mean,
So kind of with my math, if we do 2.5, and if you take out the 500,000 for HVAC, 15,000 for library, that leaves us with 1.985 if you do 2.5. If you do 0.75, add 250,000 to that.
yeah, I mean, yeah, looking at that, I mean, I'd like to see, I mean, we've got a lot of money in the bank for the county shop, and that's got a lot of moving parts, but with 214, 214 will help with economic growth and that for Aurora and that. I mean, I could see putting maybe $1 million into 214, which would include all the structures across there, and maybe that 985 or that or so into the county highway building for that, and that would bring us to that 2.5 million or that.
I got a question. Brian's looking at me smiling, the $1 million for the structures, what percentage would that even cover?
Half of one.
yes and no, you know, that we're still in the infancy of a lot of these structures. You know, I'm just gonna use a couple that, you know, we're working on currently. You know, north of Bushnell on Highway 25, we're looking at, you know, close to about $1.5 million, $2 million structure, you know, just for the one. You know, initially, you know, I didn't necessarily have these structures that Colin proposed to you budgeted. I mean, I'm sure my budget could absorb it. But initially, you know, to get started on a lot of these, I have a feeling, you know, a lot of these counties are learning to essentially play the game to attain the points moving forward. If we know this is the commission's desire, is to get us in a position to where we can, you know, spend a little money up front. I'm just going to use the Country Club Bridge as an example. You know, from the time of inception for that bridge and the time we got the grant was right around a year and a half. You know, whereas if we waited on grants and upped our percentages, you know, like was mentioned by Colin, that extends that time out from the time you get the grant, you know, and the actual build, because you have a year of design, you know, to get it prepared to bid. So, you know, that I guess I would look at it as if the commission desire is to get us in a position, you know, maybe we look at a, you know, design build for future bridge projects.
And the structure west of Aurora on that 214, the main bridge will be similar in size to the bridge north of Bushnell.
You know, I'd compare one of them to that. Yeah, you know, I'm sure that's going to be a you know, designed as a box culvert, just looking upstream as that. But there again, you know, that's probably one structure that is currently not on our system because it was replaced with culverts, but most likely shouldn't have been back in the day. But the amount of traffic that traveled that road, it worked at the time being.
Yeah. But is there the possibility of creating a fund for, you know, structure acceleration that we could assign money towards? Is that specific enough, or is it?
I mean, I think that you have about a little over 2.9 million in that future economic development highway projects. I think you could make a motion now to rename that future bridge design and construction or projects. At least that would give a little more clarification on what you want to use that for rather than just future economic development. If you earmark that specifically, and then if a portion of the assigned dollars you want to put towards that to increase that 2.9, then you could do that.
Sean, back to you said 214 with $1 million.
Well, and I was just, you know, it kind of, I agree with Doug as, you know, and that where it would be nice to have more money in the bank to accelerate our standing and kind of, I guess, buy points with that, you know, with Brian making that argument. I think it is a good idea to do something there, not just to limit it to 214. I know 214 is something that we're working towards, but, you know, not limiting that stuff to 214. I think it would be a good idea to maybe make it more generalized to structures and that throughout the county.
So if we renamed the 2.9 economic development to enhance bridge structures?
Bridge structure is, yeah. Acceleration fund.
Okay. Then we're still back to,
Can we just handle each of these on their own?
I don't know if we'd want to do, if we'd
We
want to
put-
put bridge numbers in there, or just leave it general.
That way, yeah.
We don't have any bridge numbers. I think you need to leave it general for now, and then when it gets budgeted on the highway side, then it does get its own fund, or its own general ledger line.
in my budget.
Yeah. I don't think we have enough information now to or dollar amounts known to earmark it for specific projects.
Yeah, there, so,
And how would it sound of 214 if we put $1 million for the road project and put 1 million for the structures on that
Well, the
stretch?
214 structure, we've already got a 214, right?
We've got a 214.
And the structures in 214 could still come out of this bridge fund.
Correct.
Yeah.
One way or the other.
I mean, we have
2
5,
million.
we have 5 million right now assigned for 214th. I would assume that that 5 million would include the structures along that road. It's going to be part of the project, the overall project. They're going to have to be done if we update that road.
My question would be, is with 214 and looking for future grants and things like that, if we continue to fund our savings account for that, does that give us better standing as well with the state for possible grant
No.
or no?
No.
We're just putting money in the bank to help fit our own bill for that.
The
Or
only
more of
way
it.
I think we'd help accelerate ourselves, you know, and save in the long run, you know, say we do take care of our structures, you know, that wouldn't have to be experienced in the eventual construction cost.
Kelly?
There we go. I agree with Commissioner Jensen on the library thing. We've got some funds available. I do not want to see the county patrons being assessed a charge, if you will. I think that library's got a lot more value to it than the general public realizes. But I also like what Commissioner Jensen said with, if the county's going to be putting money towards that, we'd like a small voice on that board as well.
Okay, you have any thoughts on the allocation of the 2 point?
So if we take care of the boiler here at and then we divvy up the rest of it between this new bridge structure acceleration and 214 is my 2 cents. And however, what those levels are, I can be either way.
How's that sound?
Let's just handle all three of them separately.
What dollar amount are you looking at assigning that would help me with, are you looking at the 2.75 or the 2.5?
Let's take care of the 500,000 for the boiler.
Okay,
Okay.
Get that one done and voted
Yep.
on.
then put $1 million towards,
Well, let's just do one at a time. Let's do a motion for assign 500,000 for the HVAC boiler system for the government center.
I'll make a motion, 500,000 to HVAC for the county city building.
Second.
we have a motion and a second for 500,000 for the HVAC system. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Vanderwall.
Aye.
Post.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Hassler.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. We'll entertain a motion for the library allocation.
I make a motion to 15,000 to the library.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion?
I guess I'm rather disappointed the way this whole situation was handled. We had our budget meeting in June. This was discussed. We all had our reasons. We reallocated those funds to different needs that we saw in the community. We weren't necessarily contacted. We were just all of a sudden informed through Facebook is where I found out that we were getting county residents charged extra for a library card. It's kind of like the library doesn't even consider that county residents shop primarily in the city of Brookings and spend their sales tax dollars in the city and don't receive nearly the city services as others do. And I was digging through their budget last night a little bit, which is none of my business necessarily because I don't live in the city, but in looking through things, I found it very interesting that their personnel costs for the library is over $1 million, and their fire department is only $686,000. So they're able to find volunteers to run into burning buildings, but not to work in the library in order to keep costs down in the library. I don't see it as a very efficiently run facility, much less for us to only reduce it $15,000 and that for them to try to extort county citizens more money out of the deal. So I'm disappointed with the way it was handled.
Okay. Any other comments?
I'm going to kind of build on Doug's comments. You know, we're talking about HVAC for the Brookings County building and city administration, and we have a lot of conversations back and forth. But there wasn't any conversations, there wasn't anybody walk across the street when our budget was approved to say, hey, this is what's going on, you know, ask questions of us on why it was, or even attend our budget meetings. It was all sent by letter, and then weren't even informed until a Facebook post, as Doug said, that those fees were going to get charged. I think there needs to be a lot more communication, and if this is approved with that 15,000, I feel that we do need a seat at that table because the communications and the transparency with how it's run across the street needs to be brought to our citizens' knowledge, and we need to have a voice. That's my 2 cents.
I would reiterate what Sean said. I think it was handled poorly. I don't like how we've got thrown under the bus there. We felt, you know, we're all elected to be responsible with the funds that we have to use. We felt like we could allocate that in different places, and for them to just accuse us of raising the, you know, initiating the charge for the library is just not accurate, and could have been handled better. So I would reiterate that. Moving forward, I'm glad we're going to have if we can get a seat at a table. It was just simply a lack of communication, and we need to improve on that. So.
Okay. Thanks for your input. Call the roll, please.
Post,
No.
Miller,
Aye.
Hostler,
Aye.
Vanderwall,
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, then the next would be
So do we want to maybe, are we looking at like 1.985 or
It depends.
2.235?
Yeah, if you're going with 2.75 or if you're going with 2.5. You tell me, and then I can figure out how much you got left. I'm comfortable with either, honestly. It's like a 1% difference when you do that, so it's like 29
2.5
versus
sounds
30.
good to me.
What's that?
2.5 sounds good to me.
That's what I was kind of leaning towards too.
I would agree with that. I think that's good.
So if we do, maybe like, I don't know, we have 100 or 1.985 left to allocate. What are some recommendations to go? I would say at least $1 million to the newly renamed deal with the bridges, if not maybe a little more. and then we can either divide the remaining up by 214 or county shop? Or is there something else?
Well, we don't know what the cost of 214 is necessarily going to be,
No.
if it's more than 5 or not.
We had an estimate of
It's-
17 million.
Yeah, 17. They came in, if I remember right, between 7 and 22.
That's quite a range.
Yeah.
It depends if we move forward ourselves or went through the federal
Well, I guess-
government.
We know we've got enough bridges out there to spend the money on eventually. So we could just put it all in that.
And I will say too, if for some reason there's money that ends up in the bridges and we need it for 214th, it's action by the board to move that money. And, you know, it would take, you know, we'd have to be transferring probably over the highway fund anyway, so there's some, so these assignments are just simple motion of the board to make any changes. So once you do this, this is not set in stone by any stretch of the imagination. If there is a massive blizzard that comes through and we need it for emergency management, we can unassign it from where you have it and move it to where it needs to go. So this is just simple motion of the board to make any changes to what you're doing today, so.
I will make a motion for $1,985,000 to be placed in that newly renamed, that organization bridge fund,
Future bridge structure acceleration.
what she said.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Miller,
Aye.
Hostler,
Aye.
Vanderwall,
Aye.
Post,
All right.
Jensen,
Aye.
motion carries.
Jennifer, would you like a motion too to rename that line?
I was just going to ask that.
No, don't think so? Okay. Just wanted to make sure we had all of our i's dotted and t's crossed on that. Okay.
Okay. We'll move on to item number 9, Commissioner.
Sorry, Commissioner Jensen. Can you repeat, Stacy, the name of it?
Future bridge structure acceleration.
Okay, thank you.
You got an acronym for that?
FBSA.
Okay. That's good. We ready? Commission Department Director.
Let me find my report here. First is the Veteran Service Officer report. 5 DAV van rides and 4 other types of rides between probably Beta and the Veterans Transport System. Outreach events, 4 events were, that they did in November are listed out there. Just another comment from our VSO, it was just, again, a steady month for claims, with a couple coming back with large ratings, which is always good to see for our veterans, and things seems to be moving a little bit quicker through the approval process lately, which is good. November month-end general fund surplus, as I had noted before, was at 45%. That's just a little bit lower than our 10-year average of 46.6. We did receive the engineering report from Banner. It speaks to several of the projects that we have going on with them. That was as part of my staff report. We also received the continuing disclosure document from Colliers Securities. I think the finance office had shared that report. That was included with my staff report. Just a notice of proposed reissuance of general water pollution control permits. It was from, for CAFOs from the State Department of Ag. That notice was part of my report. After all of these supplements and contingency transfers and things that we did today, I don't believe we will need a special meeting at year end. However, just to be safe, I'd like to ask what is availability on either the afternoon of the 30th, because I'd have to get that agenda done either Monday morning. So it'd have to be for the 24 hours would be for Tuesday afternoon, or basically anytime Wednesday, and I'd actually prefer anytime Wednesday on the 31st. Do we have a quorum of commissioners that would be available that day if we need to? We should know fairly soon kind of what that looks like. Yeah, so
I'm available both days.
available? Available, I'm seeing head nods.
I'm available both days as well.
Okay, perfect. So if, and I'll let you, I will let you know either way, but as of now, I don't think we will need a special meeting here at the end of the year. Brookings Day at the Capitol is January 21st. We do need to RSVP to them. Either way, if you plan, they do offer a bus out to Pier if you plan to ride on that, or even if you do plan to drive separately or drive yourself, they'd like to know just so they know who to expect out in Pier. Do you know now if you plan to attend that event?
I'll be going.
Sean?
I will be at SHOT Show in Vegas. So no.
Okay.
I'll probably be going on my own,
Okay.
so I'll be out there, but
No, plan on going.
Okay.
I am uncertain. I've got another potential conflict that week, so.
Okay. And then, Sean and Larry, do you plan to ride the bus or do you travel?
I'll probably go out myself. I've got things out on the way
Okay.
back that I'll have to do, so.
Okay.
I'll probably be the same as Sean.
Okay.
I go.
Okay, just so I kind of have an idea there. What is next? I think this did get into my staff report. The East Brookings Business and Industry Association's annual meeting is tomorrow, the 17th. It starts at 5 to 6:30 out at Daktronics. I think there was some information, again, attached to my report for that. I believe, if not, that's when that is, tomorrow at 5 o'clock out at Daktronics. Also tomorrow is Christmas at the BCOAC from 5 until 8. They have a bunch of different things planned out there. So if you are available, stop out there and enjoy some hot cocoa. Other than that, just sort of the other dates listed. Again, we'll be closing at noon on the 24th, closed Christmas Day, and now closed on December 26th as well. Closed Thursday, January 1st for New Year's Day. Brookings Day at the Capitol, as I had mentioned, and then looking a little bit further out, we have some dates in February listed. Probably the one to note, though, is Thursday, February 26th. If it's not on your calendars, you might want to get that on your calendars now for the Towns and Townships meeting, 10 o'clock out at the BCOAC, again, February 26th. Just two other things. I did hand out this morning the board appointment list. I know this time of year, everyone asks me for it, so I thought I'd just hand everybody a hard copy now. These are the appointments that are made at the first meeting in January, which will be January 6th. And then, last but not least, we have kind of a concern coming up with payroll for 2026 going into 2027. So New Year's Day, 2027, my little foresight here, right, is a Friday. So that would be a payday, but we're closed that day. Banks are closed that day. Everything is actually closed that whole day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So if we do the pay date on the 31st, 12/31/26, that adds a 27th pay period into 2026, which we did not budget for. I know Jennifer and Lori had talked to legislative audit, and initially we thought we're going to have to look at contingency for all of this. If we look at that, because it's also holiday time, so there's holiday pay for some of our bigger departments, we're looking at using, just right off the bat, before we even hit 2026, 35-40% of contingency next year for a final payroll in 2026. But because this is an unexpected, unanticipated expense, we can do some budget supplementing, which is helpful. Kind of maybe looking at doing that for some of our bigger departments, sheriff, jail, and highway, to cover that. The other thing that we looked at too is moving that first pay date of 2027 instead of getting paid on Friday, getting it paid out on Monday, the 4th, but we know that staff probably wouldn't appreciate a paycheck coming in 3 or 4 days late. We do have a year to educate people on that, but that was something else that we looked at too. So I don't know that we really need if we need direction from the board, I guess, on what we're kind of looking at. What your preference would be, I guess, at this point.
Forward one day to that Thursday? Have you looked, what would
Ye-
that?
yes.
How big of a mess would that be,
Well,
to move it
You wanna
from
come up,
Friday to
Jen?
Thursday?
and that's what I just, if we moved it to Thursday, it'd be the 12/31/26. That would add that 27th pay period to 2026.
The 26, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought we were talking 27 paychecks and 27.
It's either going to be one or the other.
Oh,
There's either going to be 27 in 2026, or there's going to be 27 in 2027. But we didn't budget for it in 26 because we didn't know that Friday was a holiday. I mean, what we know, but it wasn't anticipated.
Yeah.
The other thing to keep in mind is if we do it in 26, any other holiday, 4th of July lands on a Friday, we're paying everybody the Thursday before. That's just how we do it. If we do 27 in 2026, all salaried employees, their pay now has to be split between 27 payrolls instead of 26. So if they were anticipating getting 2,500 a paycheck, it might now be more like 2,400 a paycheck. It'll be made whole at the end, but
They'll still get their full salaried amount.
Just divided by 27 versus 26.
Or another option
we
would be to
short one.
skip, or we
We
skip a
skip one.
payroll for the salaried folks somewhere. And it doesn't have to necessarily be at year end. It could maybe be,
because this
we
will
have a
make,
third payroll in a month, which happens a couple times a year. We could,
This is
the
gonna
salaried
make-
folks just wouldn't get it.
yeah, having 27 in a year is going to make 3 months with 3 pay periods. So we could pick any of those to
Right.
not pay salary if that was the choice.
We wouldn't need to wait until the very end of the year to make that, to skip for the salarieds.
And I know we did that about 10, 12 years ago. We skipped an entire pay for the salaried people. And it came out of the blue, and didn't land real positive with the people who are on salary. So maybe if that is something that can be looked at, so they can plan ahead instead of just, you're not getting a paycheck next week. Great.
This happens every 11 years because of the calendar, and that's just what year we're on.
So I guess what,
Yeah, our choices are move it to the 4th, which it's your choice. Move it, do it on the 31st, and use contingency and budget supplements
to cover it.
adjust it. And then I don't know if you want them to decide about dividing it by 27 or leaving it at 26. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know if,
Because we're at the point where HR is right now, today and tomorrow, updating salary in the payroll system. Because the next paycheck, the salary people will get their pay raise for the year. So she needs to know, whether to divide it by 26 or 27.
Step increase or something at this stage, so that would offset some of that.
Yeah.
I'm kind of leaning forward to 27 just because of the contingencies, and, I mean, in 25, we're already spending half or 3/4 of our contingencies for 26. That would be my, or
no,
whatever
the contingency that we did today was 25 for
Oh, yeah.
25.
No, I'm just saying, looking forward is those contingency stuff. If we, I mean, it's already gone, but if we go to 27 in 27, then
We
we
can
can
budget for
plan
it.
it in June. and we
The
can
only,
figure out what's
the
going on.
only thing would be that staff then, instead of getting,
They're waiting 3 days for a paycheck.
they're waiting 3 extra days to get paid. So instead of getting paid on the Friday, the January 1st, which they wouldn't anyway because of the holiday, they would get paid on Monday, January 4th, to push that into a 2027 expense.
There's no banks, so it's not like they'd be bouncing checks in.
Right, right. Nothing is open the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd of January. So if they, if they did have, a bill that like automatically deducts on the 1st, it actually still wouldn't hit until Monday, the 4th, the same time that the paycheck would go into the bank as well. So but we know that that would be a concern for some employees.
What dollar amount are we talking about switching from 7 to 6?
We're rough numbers, about 240,000. That's just to pay non-salary people in 26 for that extra pay period. And that includes retirement. There wouldn't be any benefits other than retirement included in that, but taxes.
Could we just set that aside right now? We were gonna do 2.75 and we only did 2.5.
It crossed my mind when I was sitting back there to assign it. I don't know.
You should have, yes. The short answer is yes. You could, because, you could just do another 250,000, assign it for 2026 payroll due to 27,
Second.
I just have one question. What are other counties doing?
It depends on the county. Not all counties pay biweekly.
Oh, okay, okay.
And it's falling on us because our first paycheck this year is January 2nd. So say our calendar year worked that it happened to be on January 9th, we wouldn't have ran into this problem until 27. So it kind of just depends on the county. Some counties only pay once a month. If you pay bi-monthly, it probably doesn't affect you. It's more if you do bi-weekly like we do.
I agree with Commissioner Post. Let's just get it done in 27. Reality, or, we went with 2.5, but if we move that up, it'll be fine.
Just, take it from, lower our percentage right now and get it taken care of.
Okay, back to item P, discussion and action on year-end general fund assignments. I have a motion.
I think, there's.
A motion and a second to assign another.
Jen is wondering how much.
Well, I got the motion by Post, who's seconding it, and then, dollar amount.
250.
Jen Beller was at 250.
Get a motion and a second. General fund assignment of 250,000. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Love these things that come up once every decade or so.
Okay. Commission Department Director, are you finished?
I am finished unless you have any questions for me.
Okay. State's Attorney's Office. Thank you. Item 11, Commissioner reports. Commissioner Vanderwall.
Thank you. On Tuesday, December 2nd, we had the zoning meeting here in this building. On Wednesday, December 3rd, I attended the mayor's celebration at the Dakota Bank Center. And then on Thursday, December 4th, I attended the Innovation holiday celebration. And that's my report. Just want to thank everybody for a great year, all the employees for all their hard work here at Brookings County.
Commissioner Post.
Yes, on Tuesday the 2nd, I attended the Ag Appreciation Dinner. On the Wednesday the 3rd, we had an extension meeting out at the Activity Center. On Thursday the 4th, we had a weed meeting at noon out at the weed building. And on the 8th, Monday, we had that joint elections meeting here in this building. That concludes my report.
Okay, Commissioner Miller.
On the 2nd, I also attended the Ag Appreciation Dinner. And on the 8th, the Election Day meeting, again, which was well done. That was, thank you again. And last night, the 15th, I attended the hospital board meeting. Things continue to look good at the hospital, well run. They had a good year and a lot of numbers. A lot of people go through that place.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Hostler.
Yeah, on the 3rd, we had a Research Park Board meeting. Got some updates and some presentations for some possible more companies moving to Brookings, which is going to be exciting. Hopefully some things come to fruition with that. On the 9th, I was asked to do a presentation to the Brookings Leadership Brookings class. They asked for me to come in and present on what kind of our roles as county commission, kind of the county government and how that all works. It was a great presentation, great conversations. There was, I believe there's like 28 students in that. Look forward to them graduating and that. On the 11th, we had our merger board meeting, which, of course, with our BEDC presentation, talking about the Brookings Regional Growth Alliance, which is the formal name. We're going through CEO search. That's winding up. We're looking at possible virtual interviews with 6 to 8 possible candidates, the first part of the 26th, which first part of January, and then depending on how those go, the 2 to 3 top candidates coming to Brookings the end of January for interviews, and be available for community leaders to meet with them. And that merged organization will kick off in January, and they've got some exciting stuff planned, and I'm excited for the growth and for Brookings in general. It'll be a good organization, and that is my report.
Okay, on the 2nd, I also attended the Ag Appreciation Supper. On the 3rd, I did attend the Mayor's Christmas and Awards Night. On the 4th, Innovation Campus event out there. On the 10th, did go to the water treatment ribbon cutting event out at the new water treatment plant. Listened to different presentations and how I give them kudos to planning for the future and the size of that plant and how it will handle the future growth of the city. They're probably later on, after the construction is completed, will be offered more of a tour of the facility out there. On the 11th, I attended the pandemic planning meeting at the East Fire Station. And with that, that concludes my report. With no executive session today, and move on to item number 13. I look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
The motion is second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pose same sign. We are adjourned for 2025.